Hi, I'm Phil. This is Phil with Phacts, and today we are making tea. Wine. So making a tea wine, or a wine made of tea, isn't a new concept. It's been around for a very long time, and what it makes is a fruity, strong-bodied, versatile, and bright, but yet a very simple wine. So you get a lot of characteristics and a lot of nuances for a little bit of work and a little bit of effort. So if you're a new-time brewer, this is a perfect startup brew. And if you are a long-time brewer, this is a really cool little niche that you can go into and create some really nice wines. Once you get a base down, it's really easy to add other things and create this to be a recipe that you're proud of, you want to show off, you really like. And at its core, it's just a really good wine. So let's get some stuff together and make some tea wine. So what you will need to make a tea wine is, to start with, about a gallon of tea. I'm using a very generic black tea today, one that I enjoy drinking. Use a tea you enjoy drinking. If you really don't like black tea, you could use green tea or white tea. The same recipe will work. And follow the instructions on the packet. So don't make up how much water to how much tea you want to do. Follow whatever the recipe says on the box of the tea that you have. You'll see I also have an orange and a lemon. I'm going to take half of the orange peel and about most of the lemon peel. We have sugar, just regular standard white sugar, and golden raisins. That's it. That's all the ingredients. So when you only have a few ingredients, you want to use the best things you could possibly get. So use a good tea, one you enjoy using. Use good water, water you would actually drink. If your tap water does not taste good, it's not going to make a good brew. So use something bottled. If your tap water does taste good and you enjoy it, and it doesn't taste like chlorine, that's where the distinction is. It's perfectly fine to brew with. You're also going to need half a packet of a good wine yeast, something that goes to about 14% tolerance. With that said, let's get some of our ingredients together. Get out your trusty scale. Make sure it's set to pounds because that's what you need. Tear off the carboy. Regret not getting a funnel out, but I think we'll be fine anyway. And we're going to go for 2.5 pounds today. Now, I know that looks like a lot of sugar, but what you have to remember is you're not eating all that sugar. The yeast is eating that sugar, and they're making alcohol with it. Without the sugar, there is no alcohol. That's just how it works. I think next I'm going to add my raisins. I have about 2 ounces of chopped golden raisins. If you have black raisins or some other dried fruit you really like, go for it. These are just to give a little bit of extra characteristic to the wine. They're not needed. You can perfectly substitute them and get rid of them and it won't affect the recipe. But I like the little subtle flavors they give to my wine. Also, there's no other real fruit for the yeast to chomp down on, so I like having something in there. I should also say at this point that everything that's touching my brew today has been sanitized with a food grade safe sanitizer. I'm using Star San, but I recommend you use something. It just helps you control what is going into your brew and making sure it's as clean as possible. You don't want any microbes in there that you didn't physically put in there, such as your yeast. And you don't want your yeast competing with anything that might stunt their growth or make it hard for them. We're going to add about half of our liquid. And what we're going to do now is put a stopper on top of our bottle and give it a couple good shakes. Get all that sugar dissolved, get a lot of oxygen working into the must. Yeah. If you don't get all the sugar dissolved into the must before you take your reading will be wrong. That's why you want to give it a good shake. You also want to get a lot of oxygen here because yeast need oxygen in order to do their job and work their best. At this point, we're going to fill up a little bit more. And now we want to add our zest. Try to cut it into pieces that will easily fit in your carboy. If they're too small, it's going to be annoying because it's going to stop your siphon when you try to wrap this off. And if they're too big, they're just going to get stuck. So eyeball it and use your best judgment. I think it's important to note that you want to get just the zest, just the outer layer. You want to try to avoid getting any of the white pith because that's bitter. It's going to bitter your drink. And you don't want to get any of the pulp or the juice in here because that can change your pH and make it not safe or a good environment for your yeast. If they're not happy, they're not going to do their job, and you're not going to have a wine that you think you're going to have. And we force the zest in. Top off with just a little bit more water than that. That should be good. Give it a few more good shakes. Make sure everything's playing together. And now we're going to take our reading. If the room doesn't smell like a cup of tea with lemon at this point, you did something wrong. Alright, and let's see what we ended up at. .090. So if that goes completely dry, and I feel like it will, this is what we're going to have ABV wise. Now carefully we're going to pour this back in. Carefully because we want to prevent spilling, not because we're worried about hurting the must at this point. Now, this is only 1 gallon, so we're only going to add half a packet of our yeast today. You can add the full packet if you're worried, but there's enough in here that I feel the yeast will be able to build a nice colony and get to work rather quickly. And this packet, you just save. You put it back in your fridge, and when you make your next gallon, you already have a packet ready for you. A couple more good shakes. And last but not least, you need to add an airlock. Now, this airlock is filled with sanitizer water, which is perfect, is what you want. As I always say, just use a sanitizer water or regular tap water If you want, you can also use a cheap spirit that you're not going to drink. What you don't want to use is anything like rubbing alcohol, anything that would hurt you if you consumed it. But that goes right on top. And the only thing we have left to do is write our notes for our bottle, and I'll see you guys at the final facts. And welcome to the final facts. So today we made a wine out of tea. Now, why would you want to make a wine out of tea? One, it's going to be drank really young. I'm saying maybe 4 to 6 weeks from now, it should be mature enough to be enjoyed to drink. That's incredible for a brew. They're never ready that fast. Also, it has a lot of nuances, a lot of flavors, a lot of great things from minimal ingredients. As you saw today, we literally used tea, some citrus zest, and sugar. That was it. So, very simple brew, very inexpensive to make, great first time brew, and once you make it once and you figure out what your personal preferences and palate is, you can change it however you want, and you're still going to have these great brews that are phenomenal. So if you guys enjoyed this video today, please remember, like and subscribe. Please leave me a comment. Give me any questions, comments, or concerns. I always answer, and I love hearing from you guys. So I'm Phil. This is Phil with Facts, and until next time, guys, cheers.